I'm 80 years old, and no one warned me that life punishes hesitation more than failure. When you're young, you're told to be careful, to be realistic, to wait until things make sense. I followed that advice. I waited. What no one tells you is that waiting becomes a habit, and habits become a life. You don't notice what you're giving up because nothing dramatic happens. Days keep moving. People keep smiling. And one day you realize you've lived inside limits you never chose consciously. This isn't about regret for mistakes. It's about regret for the life you kept postponing. If you're still telling yourself you'll start later, listen closely. Later is not guaranteed the way you think it is. It did not happen during a crisis or a loss. It happened on a plain morning when nothing demanded my attention. I was sitting alone, looking at a list of things I planned to do someday, and I felt tired in a way sleep could not fix. I realized I had spent years getting ready for a life I never fully entered. I prepared conversations instead of having them. I planned changes instead of making them. Waiting used to feel calm, like a shield. That morning it felt like weight. I noticed how often I told myself, soon, later, or after this settles. Joy was delayed. Honesty was softened. Change was pushed forward like a chair never meant to be sat in. I began to see patterns I had ignored. Each delay asked for another delay. Each safe choice asked for one more. I was not afraid in a loud way. I was worn down. The effort of holding back had become harder than the risk of moving forward. Even simple choices felt heavy because they carried years of practice behind them. I caught myself explaining my inaction as patience, but it no longer rang true. Patience usually brings peace. This brought tension. I felt it in my chest when I avoided a call. I felt it in my throat when I held back words that wanted out. Nothing was falling apart, yet something was thinning. Life felt paused while time kept going. That was when unease replaced comfort. Waiting no longer felt smart. It felt costly. I did not know what action would look like yet. I only knew that standing still was asking more from me than I could keep giving. That quiet realization stayed with me all day, pressing gently, refusing to leave my thoughts behind me. It took time for me to see what waiting had taken from me. Loss did not arrive as an event. It showed up as absence. Chances I once felt drawn to faded quietly because I never stepped toward them. Jobs I considered stayed ideas. Trips I talked about became stories I told myself. More painful were the conversations I never finished. I remember moments when truth sat on my tongue, ready, but I chose calm instead. I assumed there would be another chance to speak. Some people moved away, some changed, some passed on. The chance never returned. At the time, life felt full. My days were busy. My calendar looked responsible. That is how hesitation hides. It does not feel like loss while it is happening. It feels like order. I stayed where I was because it worked well enough. I kept peace by staying quiet. I told myself this was maturity. Years later, I saw the cost. Relationships stayed polite but thin. Dreams lost shape from disuse. Confidence weakened because it was never tested. Failure would have taught me something. Hesitation taught me nothing. It only narrowed my path. I watched others stumble, recover, and grow while I remained steady and unchanged. I mistook stability for progress. The truth is that nothing meaningful stays open forever. Doors close not because you choose wrong, but because you never choose at all. Waiting did not protect what mattered to me. It slowly removed it, piece by piece. While I was busy being careful and calling it wisdom, I see now that regret grows strongest around chances never tried, not mistakes made in motion, and that truth follows me daily, reminding me that time moves forward without asking permission from anyone who waits too long in quiet, ordinary moments of life. Age did something time alone never did. It pulled me back far enough to see the pattern clearly. I spent years fearing outcomes that never arrived. The arguments I imagined did not happen. The failures I planned for never showed up. Situations I delayed resolved themselves without my help. People moved on whether I acted or not. That was when the illusion broke. Waiting did not give me control. It only gave me the feeling of control. I believed hesitation kept me safe, but safety was never the reward. Time kept moving, closing doors quietly while I stood still. I saw how little my careful planning mattered once years had passed. What I feared lost power when I looked at it from this distance. The real loss was not what could have gone wrong, it was what never began. I realized I had trusted delay more than myself. I had treated uncertainty as danger instead of part of living. Age stripped away excuses. It showed me that most moments do not ask for certainty. They ask for presence. I waited for clear signs that never came. Life rarely sends them. By the time answers arrived, the questions had changed. I saw how often I stayed back to avoid discomfort, yet discomfort found me anyway in the form of regret. Waiting did not spare me pain. It only postponed action. Control was the story I told myself to stay still. Clarity showed me that movement, even imperfect, would have given me more peace than all those careful pauses ever did in the long, quiet years that passed without asking me what I wanted or needed from my own life as it unfolded day after day. This understanding arrived late, but it arrived clear, firm, and impossible to ignore anymore inside me. At 80, what I understand is simple, but it took a lifetime to learn. Action matters more than getting it right. I spent years waiting to feel ready, and readiness never came. When I finally acted, even in small ways, the weight lifted. Honest words cost less than silence ever did. Silence felt polite, but it charged interest. It built distance, doubt, and strain. Comfort once felt like safety to me. Now I see it as a quiet risk. Comfort keeps you still while life keeps moving. Mistakes move you forward. They teach you where you stand. I learned that people respect clarity more than caution. When I spoke plainly, some disagreed, but the air cleared. When I stayed silent, nothing improved. I stopped asking how things would look and started asking how they felt. That shift changed my days. I choose actions that match my values, even if they feel awkward. I rest better. I think clearer. I no longer measure myself by approval. I measure myself by whether I showed up honestly. This is not bravery, it is relief. Living this way did not erase fear, but it shrank it. Fear grows when fed with delay. It weakens when faced with movement. I understand now that perfection is a story that keeps you waiting. Life does not reward perfect timing. It responds to presence. Each day offers chances that do not repeat. I take them when I can. When I miss them, I forgive myself and move again. That is the hard truth I live by now, steady, calm, and without apology. It keeps me grounded each morning, reminds me to speak sooner, act sooner, and choose presence over comfort, because time does not pause for doubt, and waiting never returns what it quietly takes from your life. If you are still able to choose, listen to me carefully. Do not wait for a clean moment or a calm season. They rarely arrive. Life keeps moving whether you step forward or stay still. Fear will tell you to gather more proof, more comfort, more time. I listened to that voice for decades. It never said now. It always said soon. If you feel the urge to act but keep postponing, that is not wisdom. That is habit. You do not need certainty to begin. You need honesty. Start with one small action that feels true. Say the words you keep holding back. Make the call you delay. Take the step that scares you just enough to feel alive. Let things be imperfect. Imperfect still moves you forward. Waiting does not. Do not assume people will stay available. Do not assume your energy will return. Time is generous only once. After that, it becomes exact. I am not asking you to rush or panic. I am asking you to notice. Notice where comfort is asking you to stay quiet. Notice where fear is dressed as patience. You still have choices in front of you. That will not always be true. One day, action will cost more than it does now. Choose before that day arrives. You can keep waiting and feel safe for a while, or you can move and feel alive. Both paths lead somewhere. Only one lets you recognize yourself along the way. I cannot give you my years back. I can offer you this truth instead. Use the time you still have. Speak while voices are heard. Act while doors respond. Life does not need you ready. It needs you present, willing, and awake to the moment you are standing in right now before it closes.